Welcome to Influential Entrepreneurs, bringing you interviews with elite business leaders and experts, sharing tips and strategies for elevating your business to the next level. Here's your host, Mike Saunders.
Hello and welcome to this episode of Influential Entrepreneurs. This is Mike Saunders, the Authority Positioning Coach. And today we have with us Alinka Rutkowska, who is the CEO of Leaders Press. Alinka, welcome to the program.
Thank you so much for having me, Mike.
Hey, I am looking forward to talking with you. I know that we have a mutual friend in Corey Poirier. I've been on his podcast. He's been on mine, and I know that he's worked with you as well. So I'm sure that there's many others. When I looked at your website, there's so many great, wonderful testimonial videos and stories from your clients. So I'm looking forward to learning from you. So get us started with what's a little bit of your background and your entrepreneurial journey to this point in your career.
Right. Well, thank you. I started in the corporate world, and after some years of working there, I realized that maybe that's not all there is. There might be something else that might be more exciting, that might allow me to grow more and give me more freedom. And that's when I left. I first wrote a book, and when that book brought me in royalties more than my corporate salary, that's when I had the certainty that I could be able to do it on my own and not need the corporate folks to help me live an okay life, comfortable life. But you see what you've been missing once you leave the confines of where you've been.
It really is, and I hear that story so many times from entrepreneurs that say, wow, it just was so hard to break free, but maybe there was some event, like in your case, writing a book and seeing income that you could kind of make that transition. But sometimes people, like for instance, my wife said just the other day, it took the pandemic to get her out of the job that she didn't like. So she wanted, or that sometimes people need that nudge. So one thing that I'm curious about, how many years ago was that you made that transition out of the corporate world?
That was over a decade ago. I left in 2010.
So that's what I was thinking is then you didn't even realize the tip of the iceberg that you had with this book because you only saw royalties. Mm-hmm. But as we know now with influencers and thought leaders and really be able to take their thought leadership, put it in a book, and the royalties should just be pocket change compared to what all the book can do. So talk a little bit about some of the ways that the book can help entrepreneurs grow their business.
Yes, a book is a phenomenal lead gen tool, and I didn't think that way when I first got started. You're right. I didn't have a business of my own, so I was relying on the royalties. Now that I have a business of my own, I can see how powerful a book is as a tool that generates clients. So just to give you an example, we did a book called Outsource Your Book, and that brought us extra 6 figures in 6 months of revenue, and now we're way into 7 figures just from clients who found us because they found Outsource Your Book online. So imagine if you could do that for your business, and then you wrote another book and another book and another book, and all these bring you more and more clients. So it's just amazing for the business.
And, it makes me think as a marketer when you say another book and another book and another book. Some entrepreneurs might think, well, what do I write? I wrote the first book and it's all about me and my business. Yay. But maybe you would recommend it from the strategic point of view that the next book would drill in really deep within their business of what one process is that they do to serve their clients, right? To really tie that in so that they understand fully. So what do you recommend when someone says, I'm seeing great momentum with book number 1? What should book number 2, 3, and beyond be?
Right. So, there's this thing of I'm writing the book, which is the first book, and it's the book, the one and only. So you sort of cram everything in there. And, it takes a moment for you to realize there's much more that you can share. So you can either look at look at your business from a different angle, or you could focus on specific areas of it. You could look at demographics. So, for example, we could do, outsource your books for speakers, outsource your book for consultants, outsource your book for course creators. So it's, all the same thing. This is what we offer. But by just niching it down a little bit, then somebody who is a speaker or is a consultant will say, oh, that's for me.
Yep.
So that's one way you can do that. Another way is just really focusing on different aspects of the business. So, for example, when we look for authors, they could come with an idea or they could come with a ready manuscript. So that's also, that can be marketed a little bit differently. So this is outsource your book for people who have an idea, and this is outsource your book for people who have a manuscript. And this way you're able to reach your target audience that says, oh, well, this is not just a generic book. This is for me.
Yep. It's similar to how Jack Canfield did or does with his series, Chicken Soup for the, and then fill in the blank, Mother Soul, Entrepreneur Soul, all of those things. And you're exactly right. And it could very well be, without getting into the weeds, it could very well be the same exact content, but you just change some of the case studies, examples, and references in the book for, the demographic you're talking to. And now all of a sudden it is resonating with them. And that becomes now your book series. It becomes your lead gen. So now it makes me think this, when you're talking about, you could have just an idea or you could have a manuscript. Well, what about the person that just has the idea and then they say, but Alinka, I can't even write a blog post or an email, much less a book, but here's my idea. What do you do to serve them?
Right. That's our preferred type of entrepreneur, because that allows us to really do what we do very well, which is to interview the entrepreneur, get all their ideas out of their head, and then to ghostwrite the book. So many of the books that you've read, written by well-known founders and entrepreneurs, have actually been ghostwritten. And, one of them is, for example, Sam Walton, the founder of Walmart. And you are really reading his thoughts. It's all his experience. It's just a professional wrote the words, because I know as an entrepreneur, you already have a skill. You're building a business. Nobody's expecting you to have studied creative writing as well. So you know that you need a team of experts. So you have a team to grow your business. So it's a really good use of your time to have a team to do the book.
Yeah, that's a really good point, because it's so easy to say, oh, well, I can't write this blog post or this article, but I can talk about it, all day long. And then all of a sudden, I've done so many podcast interviews where the person at the end says, wow, I never would have thought of bringing up that point or that point, but we just got engrossed in the conversation. So that's a wonderful way to bring out the ideas. And then now you deliver back to them the manuscript from there. Wonderful. They can tweak it, polish it up, whatever they want to do. And so now let's fast forward and say, okay, book is done. It's out there on the different platforms. It's in hand. And now they sit back and they are an easy street and they can retire because they're making millions of dollars, right? I mean, obviously not, but let's talk about, what do you then coach your clients to do once it's done? Because I said, and it might be pretty accurate, your royalties from book sales should be pocket change. It's not going to be your full benefit from the book. So there's a lot more that goes into it, from getting on stages and keynote speeches. So what are some of the things that you would coach your clients to do, once it's now live?
Right. We like to look at the why behind the book at the very beginning, even before our clients start working with us. And in many cases, it's giving back, having a legacy. So leaving a legacy. Once you're gone, the book continues living on. So there's that. And then in terms of revenue generation, there are different reasons to do it and ways of generating that revenue. And as you're saying, royalties will be a small fraction of the overall revenue coming from a book when you have a business that's linked to it. So, for example, speakers that have done books with us were able to double their speaking fees, because now they're best-selling authors. Wall Street Journal, USA Today best-selling authors. Then we had an entrepreneur who was looking to raise huge funding, and he would give investors copies of his book so that then, after a day filled with meetings with various potential businesses that they could invest in, who will they remember? The guy that gave them the business card or the guy that gave them the book? So he was very successful using that strategy. Then there's a pure lead generation online that a lot of digital marketers are familiar with. So a book is one of the best lead gen tools, better than like a workshop that you can sign up for that you have to wait for, because a book offers instant gratification. You leave your email, you get the book. There's no waiting, and it converts really well. Gives you that effect of authority. So there's that as well, and those are the main reasons that you would do that. So it's a lead generation tool, but also a lead conversion tool, because if you're selling high ticket items or services and you have a prospect talking to you that has read your book, you have a completely different quality of a conversation, because you're no longer answering questions such as, so what do you guys do? No, it's about their specific situation, because they very well know what you're doing, how you do it, and that you are the ultimate expert because you wrote the book or you wrote the best-selling book.
Yes. Yeah, that's a really, really good point. Is it just kind of puts the stake in the ground and it establishes yourself as that thought leader, that expert. So I know that Tim Ferriss' Tools of Titans, the page count is somewhere in the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, right? And I've got a different book on my bookshelf that's 1,100 pages. So those are crazy long. And I think that many people are so busy, their attention spans are so short that they intend to, oh, that sounds good, like a good book, I want to read it, thank you. And they read the first chapter and that's it. So A, what length do you recommend the book should be? And B, is there a problem with realizing the fact that your book is wonderful, it's your life's work, you put your blood, sweat, and tears in it, and you hand it to a prospect, and they come back the next week and go, oh, that's pretty good, I read the first chapter, and then you're like, but you didn't get the good stuff. So what then?
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah, it's a great question. And sometimes we ask it, you don't get a straight answer. So the length, like what we do is 40 to 50,000 words for a nonfiction book. And to translate this to you into pages, that's going to be like about 200 pages, maybe 100 pages of a 5x8 inch book. That's standard industry size. If you look at your bookshelves, you'll probably see two main sizes. One is 5x8. And a slightly bigger 6x9. So books that are considered standard length would be between 180 to like 250 pages of either of those sizes. And you can do shorter. For example, Outsource Your Book is like 150 pages of the smaller size. And right now, I put together a book that we're really only using internally for referrals. So this is a book that's meant to generate referrals. And I told you 40,000 was the a small version. This one is 3,000, and it's a workbook. There you don't have the problem of, it was too big, I didn't read it. It's actually so short that you feel compelled to read it, and you want more, and there are ways to get more. But there are different goals for writing books. Different people have different goals, so that has to be clear first in the author's mind, because a lot of what you'll do or what your team will do when you write a book is make sure you meet those goals. So if you want to have more referrals for your business, there's one way of putting the book together. If you want to generate cold leads, there's another way. If you're talking to investors, there's another way. If you want to increase your speaking fee, there's another way you want to write a book, and the links you put in and the language you use. So it's really important to be clear on the goal, and then you'll be definitely happy with the outcome.
And what do you recommend for if the goal is to generate leads for whatever the business that the client is in? So we want that. It's not my life history. How do you avoid some of the reviews that you see on Amazon books where it's like, don't buy this book, it was just a big pitch for their thing, and 1 star? and you need to have the mention of your thing, but how do you make sure that it's not so much in your face on every single page with, big flashing buy now? I'm being hypothetical, but how do you seed that in so that it's there and available, but not too much where the reader feels like, where's the book content?
Right. Great question. So there are various degrees of being subtle, and you can be subtle in your calls to action, or you can be very in your face with like full page ads at the beginning and the end and on the back cover. Or you can use, shades of gray. So there's that. You can be very subtle and, not have any flashy things, just maybe one link or two that are sending to a page to get something, not even mentioning a service. However, even if you're super subtle, there's still a risk that you'll get that one-star review saying, this is just a pitch. And I have such reviews on my lead gen books, and it's not a problem. They're still generating leads because, if you're an entrepreneur, you're looking to do a lead gen book, you read a lead gen book, and somebody's saying, this is just a pitch that sends people to your service, you're thinking, well, that's what I want to do, right? So
you got the point.
Go and click at that link. On that link, it proves the point. So you might get some negative reviews from people who are not your target audience or who don't understand how marketing and business works, and that's fine because they would never have bought anything from you anyway. But they actually prove to your target audience that you could work with really well, that what you're doing is working and you have something valuable working for you. And also, you'll get a negative review sooner or later. And the best way to deal with it is think about your favorite book, okay? Best book in the world, best ever, and go look at its negative reviews. Or any product at all, just anything. Oh, I just bought a great book, 4 Seasons by Isadora Sharp, because this is what we want to do in Leaders Press. We want Leaders Press to be the 4 seasons of the publishing world. And I looked at the 1-star reviews, and it was like, oh, well, this is about hotel service, not my cup of tea, 1 star. Another one was like, oh, this book arrived with a couple pages torn. I'm like, okay, guys.
Can't help
so,
that.
You read these 1-star reviews and you say, well, I mean, the others are 5 stars, and why I'm buying this is not because of what you guys are saying. So don't worry, don't sweat the 1 stars.
Yep. And also, I forget the statistic, but I think 90% of the time your audience is not going to comment. Like if you're in a Facebook group, you have so many lurkers that are just reading. So the people that are actually commenting, there's some nuggets of truth there. And if it is, the pages were torn, you could, I don't know whether Amazon allows you to respond, but if you could, then respond back and go, so sorry, the shipping, issue, I'm happy to replace that. Oh, but the point is, you need to sift through, and yes, if the 4 Seasons one was about a hotel and you're not in the hotel business and you put that review out there, well, there's lessons we need to learn. There's why do we watch Shark Tank? Why do we watch Marcus Lemonis of The Profit? Because we want to learn from those lessons. That company is not in my industry, but I'm going to learn from their application. So that's a really, really good point. So Alinka, what would you say to wrap up here? If this content is like resonating with people and they say, you know what, maybe it's time, maybe 2022 is the time that I get my book going. What's the best way they can reach out and connect with you?
Well, the best way, and a really fun way also, is if you go to leaderspress.com/discover, and there you can go through a 1-minute quiz that will tell you what type of book you should write, if you should do a lead gen book or a legacy piece or a book that will get you on one of the big lists like Wall Street Journal or USA Today. And you'll also get an audiobook of Outsource Your Book, the book I've been mentioning, because I bet you like listening. You're listening to this. So all that is waiting for you at leaderspress.com/discover.
Excellent. Well, Alinka, thank you so much for coming on the show today. It was a pleasure talking with you.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, Mike.
You've been listening to Influential Entrepreneurs with Mike Saunders. To learn more about the resources mentioned on today's show or listen to past episodes, visit www.influentialentrepreneursradio.com.